Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I'm Dashen. Usman. The headlines. House of Representatives urges federal government to suspend Samoa agreement. President Tinubu creates Ministry of Livestock Development to stop farmers-herders clash. Liberian President Boakai takes 40% pay cut amid dwindling economy. Details in a moment. We begin the news at this hour by telling you that Nigeria's House of Representatives has urged the federal government to suspend the implementation of the recently signed Samoa Agreement, which has been an issue of controversy pending the conclusion of an investigation into the matter. This followed the adoption of a motion calling the attention of the House to some allegedly offensive clauses which lawmakers say are noted in the agreement. Lawmakers, while expressing divergent views, urged the House to reject the Samoa Agreement entirely while calling for the suspension of its implementation.
That the phrase gender equality, as reported, is a Trojan horse for deceptively bringing in all sorts of immorality to our country, as gender no longer means sexes, male and female, as traditionally understood. It now includes homosexualism, lesbianism, transgenderism, and animalism. Further worried that the signing of such an agreement with the aforementioned clauses, if true, violate our sovereignty and is a clear contravention of Section 12(1) of 99 Constitution as amended.
There is no portion of that agreement that talks about LGBTQ or 150 billion. Hold on, let me finish. If you have it, bring it out here. I'll show it. In fact, 3 ministers have come out, including information, budget, and planning, in public to say there was nothing like that in the agreement.
This is the amendment. Mr. Speaker, agreement upon agreement has been signed by Nigeria in order to improve the Nigerian economy. But, Mr. Speaker, everybody knows that instead for the economy to progress, it's now retrogressing like a wildfire. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we urge and we tell everybody, no matter how much money Nigeria is going to get from this thing, the handlers of the current economy could not fix the economy. Therefore, this should be rejected in totality.
The governor of Rivers State, South Nigeria, Siminalayi Fubara, has expressed surprise at the prolonged silence of the Nigerian police over the attempted detonation of explosive device in Port Harcourt by protesters demanding for elongation of tenure of former chairmen of local government councils after many weeks. The governor maintained that if such was done by supporters linked to him, terrorism charges would have been slammed on them swiftly without delay. Governor Fubara expressed his worries shortly after swearing in Emmanuel Onengie Ofori Frank Fubara as the new Commissioner for Finance at the Executive Chambers of Government House in Port Harcourt on Monday. Away from that, the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency has arrested a major drug cartel behind the production and distribution of a deadly psychoactive substance, methamphetamine, popularly known as Mkpuru-mmiri, operating in Imo and Rivers states. This follows the arrest of the leader of the syndicate, 42-year-old Joaquin Mbonu, and one of his associates, Kenneth Ofeogbu, in his mansion in Umuomi village, Ikeduru local government area of Imo State. Exhibits recovered from the house include a pump-action gun with 4 cartridges, 419 grams of methamphetamine, 750 grams of iodine, a precursor chemical for meth, 500 grams, 2 electronic weighing scales, among others. President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of a new Ministry of Livestock Development. This announcement was made as he inaugurated the Renewed Hope Livestock Reform Implementation Committee at the State House in Abuja on Tuesday. The committee is tasked with providing sector-focused solutions to address the long-standing farmers-herders conflict. On September 14, 2023, The National Livestock Reforms Committee recommended the creation of a Ministry of Livestock Resources to help reduce the decades-long violent conflict between farmers and nomadic cattle herders across the country. The establishment of the new ministry is part of 21 recommendations in a document submitted to the President aimed at enhancing the federal government's comprehensive response to the ongoing violence. The document outlines proposed solutions, including a reform agenda that focuses on conflict mitigation and resource management. To further discuss this, I'm being joined by the former Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry in Kaduna State, Dr. Manzo Daniel Maigari. Hello, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining me at this time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So, Doctor, how do you think the new livestock ministry will shake things up in the government? And which other departments do you think might feel the impact?
Well, as a matter of fact, I think this is an issue that should have happened a lot much earlier now. For a sector that is this important, nothing can be more than having a ministry to address the issues. As everybody would know, livestock is an important component of the Nigerian economy, worth over 30 trillion naira, yet with very insignificant contribution to the GDP, which stands at 20.1%. There's no gainsaying that we can do a lot more. For example, we import over 70% of our milk requirements. We still import poultry products, or let me say they are being smuggled in. A lot of even derivatives of high-value derivatives of livestock are all imported. This is something that ordinarily we should be producing locally. However, due to the failure of the development of that sector and the lack of structure, it has actually become more of a problem to us. In fact, a nightmare than the blessing that it should be. So the importance of this can never be overemphasized.
All right,
and
Doctor.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So I believe that the president has taken a very good step towards resolving the issues. Nigeria today has the 5th largest cattle herd in Africa, with a total population of about 21.9 million heads of cows. And yet we import over 70% of our milk requirements. And like I said, a lot of the high-value derivatives of livestock are being imported. This is something that it's unacceptable. And I'll go a step further to tell you that today we kill 40,000 cows every day in this country, and nothing less than 70% of those cows come from outside Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Doctor. Now, let's talk about the Renewed Hope Committee. According to the report, they have been tasked with providing sector-focused solutions to address, the long-standing farmers-herders conflict. Now, how do we make sure that, the committee is really listening to the people on the ground? And by the people on the ground, I mean the farmers, the herders, and also the local communities, and also incorporating their feedback.
Well, when you say a committee, I don't really understand, but we have a ministry at the moment that has been approved. And that ministry is going to be headed by an outstanding Nigerian. It is expected that this ministry will be replicated at the state levels, but most importantly, agriculture is a state affair. The federal government will do well to ensure that the states are empowered and enabled to deal with these issues according to the dynamics of each environment, because the dynamics of livestock herders crisis depend or differ significantly from state to state. There are states that have larger herds of livestock. There are states that have very few herds of livestock. But what is important is that if the state, if we activate machineries at the state levels, they will engage with the people. Every state ministry of agriculture already has a community of herders and a community of arable farmers with whom they relate. Sometimes when there are issues, crises, and all that, the state ministries are the ones that step in and mediate. And I'm going to tell you, for example, in Kaduna State, we had grazing reserves whereby we introduce dairy cooperatives to implement a livestock extension service delivery that was tailored to serve nomadic farmers. And we introduce napier grass for family and community use. Where we encouraged them for a start to do was to ensure that all their lactating cows, that is cows that were milking, were breastfeeding in the layman's language, were kept in one place and fed napier grass. So in other words, they don't go, any cow that was breastfeeding shouldn't go to graze outside. And dramatically within 6 weeks, I can tell you, milk production per cow per day rose from less than a liter to 3 liters per day. And experiments in semi-intensive systems have also shown that even these local cows can produce up to 10 liters of milk per day. But because they spend most of their energy roaming from place to place, they instead of producing milk, they end up just using that to run around for grass that is very low quality in the first place.
All right, also the Doctor. Quality. Yeah, just before you go ahead, let's just track back a bit to, what you said about an outstanding Nigerian to head the ministry. There are actually rumors that the former INEC chairman, Professor Attahiru Jega, will be heading the ministry. Is this true? And even if it is true or not, I would also like for you to tell us, it doesn't matter whoever is heading the ministry, how do we make sure that, the person heading the ministry is making a difference, and what benchmarks should we use to measure, their success?
Well, like I said, though I cannot confirm at the moment, but of course the information at my disposal indicates that Attahiru Jega is going to lead that ministry. And we can attest to his astuteness. He's somebody that has served this country excellently and delivered excellently also. Now I would like to let you understand that at that level, all that is important is the commitment. He is not going to work as an individual. He's going to work with technical persons who are experts in rural development, who are experts in rural sociology, experts in agronomy, experts in livestock. All this is a kind of an aggregate of competencies that will enable an ecosystem that will ensure that adequate consultations are met with critical stakeholders to the extent that they can trust the genuineness of government or of the intentions of government to resolve the problem. Okay. Don't forget that we have had attempts at solving problems. For example, we still have the Nomadic Education Commission, which is there, which has this, a lot of money has been spent. But I think the issues around the failure of the National Commission for Nomadic Education have largely been as issues of trust. The nomads do not trust the administrators of the commission, and therefore all monies that have gone in there have literally just gone through into the conduit pipe to nowhere, and they didn't deliver what. So this is it. The major challenge there will be to build trust, and naturally, Jega himself, being a Fulani, whom we believe and trust, has the commitment and the patriotism to resolve issues around this. All right. It's easier for him to be trusted by this, and then the technical people will just give him the backup to develop the framework that will enable delivery of value.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Megari, for speaking to us on this particular topic. We do hope that, when the ministry comes to play, that it will definitely be done in a way that respects everyone's perspective.
Thank you for having me.
Moving on. Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, have become a significant part of the food supply chain. But how safe are they from a medical perspective? Are there any long-term effects of consuming GMOs? News Central correspondent Bettina Nweli explores the science behind GMO foods and their health impacts.
Genetically modified foods are created by altering the DNA of plants and animals to enhance desirable traits such as pest resistance, improved nutritional content, and higher yield. But how does this impact human health?
We have been doing a lot of researches on GMO foods. GMO foods are not good for human consumption. They cause cancer. They cause a lot of affliction, disease, and whatever you can think of. Through the researches we've done, we are totally against it.
The consensus among major health organizations, including the World Health Organization and the National Academy of Sciences, is that GMO foods currently available on the market are safe to eat. Even with the assumption that they may not be safe, some Nigerians are left with no alternative, considering the economic inflation as well as the inability to differentiate between GMO and non-GMO foods.
I'll buy it because there's nothing to buy. Because most food out there now, they are almost all the same.
It's said not to be too healthy, based on what I've heard in the past, that because of the fact that they use things like fertilizers to build up such, it might not be too, but they're always cheaper. Even in developed world, it's like that.
Technically, GMO foods are already on the spread because, so while technically eating GMO foods, our beings that are genetically modified already, so we are all still eating GMO foods. So there's no debate, but there have been debates about its risks, but it hasn't been proven yet.
Despite scientific consensus, public concerns remain. It's essential to address these concerns transparently and based on facts.
One can assume that is something that is safe for people to use, right? But again, we need to see what the long-term implications are. There's been a lot of debates and argument around its safety and all that. But here in Nigeria, we are yet to hear from the government, even though recently there's a rumor that the government of Nigeria has said that it is safe for use, right? We also have other agencies. The Ministry of Science and Technology is there. We have NAFDAC and other agencies that can, look into this and then tell us if GMO is, safe for us or not.
While it's natural to have concerns, genetically modified foods have been a part of human diet for decades, and extensive research supports their safety. According to the American Association for the Advancement of Science, genetically modified crops and genetically modified organisms are the most extensively tested crops added to the food supply. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nweli.
In the wake of long queues resurfacing in some states across Nigeria, a coalition of civil society groups has called on Nigerians to avoid panic buying and support the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that's the NNPCL. The group explained that distribution of petroleum products is not solely the responsibility of NNPCL, but other stakeholders who should play their part so as to ensure smooth sale and distribution of petroleum products across the country. News Central's Bernard Akede has more in this report.
Long fuel queues are again beginning to spring up in Abuja and other parts of the country. As Nigerians are getting agitated, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, and oil marketers are shifting blame on the actual cause of the current spate of petrol supply shortage in the country. This back and forth has prompted a response from a coalition of civil society groups in Lagos, who have commended the efforts of the NNPCL, stating that the job of petroleum product distribution should not be left to the NNPCL alone, but other stakeholders who need to equally pull their weight.
To have a sustainable solution to the sector's challenges, it requires a concerted effort from all stakeholders. These stakeholders, include, the oil marketers, the depot owner, the workers, even the media. You have amplified a lot of issues around this, product supply scarcity challenges on a number of times. And of course, us as a civil society. And we believe that every stakeholder at this point must come to join hand with the NNPC Limited in collaborative approach.
Here in Lagos, the nation's commercial city, the situation is slightly different. Stations like the one you can see behind me, NNPCL, are the ones that have long queues right in front of them. And this is because these are the stations that sell at the cheapest prices. For other stations that sell at higher prices, they are either closed or they hardly have any queues in front of them. Different stations selling at different prices for those who have products available, while for those who don't, they remain short. There are concerns that some Nigerians may soon engage in panic buying. The coalition group believes the petroleum industry needs to allow for more engagement with the people, and the citizens need to show more concern for the NNPCL and the industry in general.
In essence, what we are saying is that there is need for the oil and gas sector to open its door of citizens' engagement. We have done this before, and many of us have understood it with the police and the security agencies. If you see something, say something. If you know any filling station extorting or hoarding the product, please reach out to the NNPC.
In order to address this looming fuel crisis, the NNPC has ordered that its stations across the country be open for extra hours so that Nigerians can purchase petroleum products. The hope is that this action by the NNPC will ensure that the crisis would reduce and that other stations will have the products to sell and distribute to the country. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
News Central now returns after the break. Do stay. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. In an effort to enhance project management and accountability, the Borno State government has launched an extensive training program for monitoring and evaluation zonal directors and desk officers. Now, this initiative is a crucial part of the state's post-insurgency recovery strategy aiming to boost the efficiency of health and education projects. News Central's Umari Kirawa has the details.
Borno State is gradually regaining its lost glory after enduring several years of insurgency. Many communities are now resettled and inhabitants are picking up the pieces of their lives. The government is committed to the successful execution of projects in both rural and urban centers. With a focus on effective monitoring and evaluation techniques, this training initiative aims to streamline operations in health and education, fostering transparency and accountability.
They are on the field in the local government, so they are there as our desk officers. So we want them to be reporting what has transpired. So without inviting them to the head office, they cannot know what we really want. So that's why we invite them so that we will appoint them with what we want in terms of quality and representation.
The training program encompasses an extensive array of topics, including project planning, data analysis, and the application of technology in monitoring and evaluation processes.
I have obtained much skill, in fact, and I'm going to share it on the field when assignment is given to me to look after any project by His Excellency, the Governor of the state.
We are going there to monitor, that is to supervise or carry out any duty within the ministry in order to see that the government of Borno State and His Excellency to see that actually we have received training, we have got skills, and to move the state forward.
The government has also allocated vehicles to bolster the capabilities of monitoring and evaluation teams, facilitating field assessment in remote areas. This initiative is poised to significantly enhance the state's capacity in managing and evaluating its recovery programs. It aims to ensure health and education projects yield substantial benefits for communities affected by the insurgency. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
In an effort to enhance health insurance coverage, especially among residents in the informal sector, the Lagos State Health Management Agency has teamed up with the Lagos State Residents Registration Agency. Permanent Secretary of the agency, Dr. Emanuela Zamba, announced this partnership during a press briefing at the State Secretariat. She disclosed that the scheme now covers over 1 million enrollees with ambitious plans for further expansion. News Central's Adeshawa Odushoga reports.
There is a critical need for health insurance in Nigeria, as recent data reveals that less than 5% of Nigerians currently have health insurance coverage. A significant factor contributing to this is the lack of access to affordable health care, which remains out of reach for most Nigerians, especially those without formal employment.
Achieving UHC, you will all agree with me, is no mean feat, and all hands must be on deck.
To address this challenge and enhance grassroots penetration, the Lagos State Health Management Agency, in collaboration with the Lagos State Resident Registration Agency, is expanding the coverage of the State Health Insurance Scheme, Ilera Eco. This initiative is part of the ongoing efforts to achieve universal healthcare coverage in the state.
As we speak, in order for the agency to reach out to the informal sector, which is our primary target, the agency has established 5 divisional offices, 14 subdivisional offices, and 16 kiosks spread across the state. Furthermore, Ashma also has foot soldiers known as enrollment officers who visit the nooks and crannies in the state to enroll residents. We have also embarked on various grassroots programs to sensitize residents at the grassroots.
Through LASHMA registration, residents gain effortless access to LASHMA. In essence, the steps required after you have gotten your LASHMA registration is just 2 steps or 1 or 2 steps. It doesn't take a lot of time. So it really will save residents time. When they are getting their LASHMA, just another 1 minute or 2 minutes, you get your LASHMA enrollment done.
Since its inception in 2021, the agency has enrolled over 1 million individuals into its database, offering a subscription rate as low as 8,500 naira per year. According to LASHMA, more than 800 health facilities, both public and private, are partnered with the agency.
It's not even all public hospitals that are under Ilera Eco, because we have standards that must be met. We have some primary healthcare facilities on the scheme. We have most of the secondary healthcare facilities on the scheme, and we have a lot more private hospitals that are on the scheme.
While Lagos State has been praised for its remarkable project over the years, such as the Onje Eco initiative, which subsidizes food prices amidst rising inflation, the biggest question remains: how sustainable are these initiatives? In Lagos for News Central, Adeshawa Odushoga.
The Nigerian government is investing $2 billion on technology in the country to improve students' enrollment and equip teachers so as to reduce the number of out-of-school children nationwide. Nigeria's Ministers of Communications and Education made this known at an African Educational Technology Conference in Abuja, where they identified a lack of investment on the capacity of teachers as frustrating government's target to improve education in the country. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
How would you say the integration of inclusion?
It's the African Educational Technology Conference 2024, organized by MasterCard Foundation and the Nigerian government, which is key to finding resolutions that will boost the nation's EdTech drive. Nigeria's Minister of Communications says that government hopes to attract more children back to school and improve the capacity of teachers.
A teacher is meant to use technology to teach.
sometimes it takes them 15 to 30 minutes to actually set up and get the technology to work. And perhaps a session is only for 30 or 45 minutes. So most of these teachers are discouraged from actually using the technology. So you see that significant gap. You have the innovation on one hand, which is pushing, finding new ways of investing, but it's disconnected from how technology is truly used in the classroom.
Stakeholders here present also commit to accelerating quality and equitable education for young people through technology via both formal and informal means, saying this will boost job creation.
We also have some of our facilities by some of the agencies in the ministry that will be utilized for this purpose. And the training programs will range from 2 months to 5 months.
The Federal Executive Council actually approved the establishment of a special purpose vehicle, which is now working with about 7 to 8 development finance institutions. And our goal is that over the next 2 to 3 years, we should be able to now deploy 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable across the entire continent. If we start to use technology in education, a lot of our young people that are out of school will now have the opportunity to be enlightened, whether they are within school or they go to community centers where they have technology will give them the opportunity, and we'll now start creating more jobs. So to the contrary, for Africa, technology will raise productivity in more of our sectors, which means we'll be creating more jobs. And finally, one thing to take into consideration is that the population on the African continent, 40% of our people are under the age of 15, which means we're very young. Unfortunately for some countries, most of the developed countries, their population is aging and is shrinking. So they actually don't have the workforce to power the future in those countries. So they are looking forward to Africa, and our people cannot help them power their workforce if they're not digitally literate.
Yeah, I'm glad you're mentioning this is an African thing, because a lot of times you see people coming out of the north, coming to Africa, trying to save Africa. And we are saying, let's have an African conversation.
With strategic partnerships in education being discussed and agreed on, it is hoped that this will transform the future of education technology in Africa. In Abuja for News Central, I'm Emmanuel Bagudu.
Coming up, Liberian president takes pay cut. We'll bring you details after the break. Liberia's President Joseph Boakai has announced a 40% reduction in his salary, aiming to set a precedent for responsible governance in the West African nation. Boakai, who began his 6-year term in January, has committed to improving living conditions, combating corruption, and upholding the rule of law. A statement from the presidency highlighted that the president's voluntary pay cut reflects his determination to lead by example in strengthening government accountability and demonstrating solidarity with the people of the nation. Previously earning a gross annual salary of $13,400, Boakai, his new salary will be approximately $8,040. His assets declaration in June, which was published as a transparency measure, listed his net worth at $970,419, primarily in property. The declaration did not specify any additional allowances on top of his salary. Guinea-Bissau's President Umaru Embalo says the country will elect a new parliament on November 24, months after he dissolved it following what he called an attempted coup. These will be the second parliamentary elections in a year and a half in the West African country, which is notoriously unstable, having suffered a series of military or political coups since independence from Portugal in 1974. Embalo, who has been president since 2020, dissolved the opposition-dominated parliament in December 2023 after announcing an attempted coup had taken place. Violence erupted in the capital Bissau between members of the National Guard and Special Forces of the Presidential Guard on the night of November 30, leaving 2 people dead. A young Tanzanian artist has been released after paying a fine for setting fire to a picture of President Samia Suluhu Hassan in a viral TikTok video. Shadrach Chaula was found guilty last week of disseminating offensive information online. The video showed him burning the photo and making statements that police deemed offensive to the head of state. Chaula was initially given a 2-year sentence but was released from a prison in Mbeya on Monday after activists raised the 5 million Tanzanian shillings, that's approximately $1,900, required for his fine. His lawyer, Michael Mwangasa, confirmed the payment but announced plans to appeal the sentence, citing violations of legal processes during the trial. Mbeya Regional Police Chief Benjamin Kuzaga described Chaula's actions as very strong and the burning of the photo as a humiliation to President Hassan. In other news from around the world, the White House has denied the claim that the U.S. President Joe Biden is being treated for Parkinson's disease. His spokeswoman in a televised briefing reacted after reports that an expert in the condition visited the White House 8 times. In the meantime, the National Security Council spokesman, John Kirby, also reacted to elections in Iran and France and speaks about potential announcements on air defenses to Ukraine in the coming days.
Going back to Parkinson's for a little bit, so to give you some answers here, has the president been treated for Parkinson's? No. Is he being treated for Parkinson's? No, he's not. Is he taking medication for Parkinson's? No. So those are the things that I can give you full-blown answers on, but I'm not going to confirm a specialist, any specialist that comes to the White House out of.
Well, it seems like a pretty easy question to answer. No, we're not in a position where we're willing to get back to the negotiating table with Iran just based on the fact that they've elected a new president. They're still supporting terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. They're still supporting the Houthis as the Houthis attack ships in the Red Sea. They're still attacking shipping as well. And they're still supplying drones and drone technology and drone expertise to the Russians so that the Russians can continue to kill innocent Ukrainians like they did over the weekend. So no.
A bit more moderate. Do you see any opening?
We'll see what this guy wants to get done, but we are not expecting any changes in Iranian behavior.
Beijing has lashed out at NATO's smears and attacks after the head of the Defense Alliance, Jens Stoltenberg, said China was supporting and enabling Russia's illegal war of aggression in Ukraine on the eve of a show peace summit in Washington. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Zhen also commented on Australia's cyber intelligence agency that warned about state-backed Chinese hackers. According to Zhen, the relevant parties have once again used China's so-called cyber attacks as a pretext to smear and slander China.
北约所谓的安全，是以牺牲别国的安全为代价的，其所作所为给全球和地区带来了极高的安全风险。中方坚决反对北约对中国的抹黑攻击和甩锅推责，反对北约拿中国当借口，东进亚太，搅动地区局势。有关方面再次拿中国网络攻击来炒冷饭，借网络安全问题污蔑抹黑中国，中方对此坚决反对。事实上，一段时间以来，中国的有关机构发布了包括美相关 APT 组织分析报告在内的多份分析调查报告。
In business, June 2024 was marked by a series of economic and political events that will continue to shape investor sentiments towards sub-Saharan Africa. As we move into July 2024, investors are looking ahead to the economic and political events that will shape the landscape of sub-Saharan Africa. The Business Edge show recently featured Dumebi Oluwole, senior economist at Steers, who shared insights into Nigeria's economic outlook for the month and the upcoming quarter. These developments will play a crucial role in determining investor sentiments and the overall economic trajectory of the region.
That currency pressures would remain, and this is largely because we haven't seen a lot of support yet for the exchange rates. And remember now that the market is somewhat liberalized, right? So the market forces of demand and supply will continue to determine the rates, at least for the short term, except the CBN decides to intervene, which it has clearly stated that it would likely not do as much in the market. But against that backdrop, we're still seeing a lot of positive, somewhat I'll say bearish sentiment towards the Nigerian FX market, and we expect that trend to continue. The exchange rate has traded at around 1,300 to around 1,500 plus, and we expect that trend to still continue in the near term. So basically, currency risks are still very, very prominent. Then you look at inflation. We still expect inflationary pressures to remain, but again, coming from last year up until now, base effects will substantially affect the upcoming July inflation numbers. For the June inflation numbers that will be coming out about, I think, next week on the 15th, base effects will not be so substantial there. So we might see the inflation rate, the headline inflation rate, marginally decline, but not substantially. And this is because when you look at what happened, the June inflation numbers in 2023, you see that it didn't substantially reflect the reforms that took place then. And so we won't likely see the June inflation numbers decline significantly. So base effects will be more prominent from the July inflation numbers. Then you look at output growth. Again, because of the structural rigidities that we know are affecting Nigeria's production and productivity from time past up until now.
In the world of sports, Edo State is set to host the 2024 National Division 1 Handball League from the 14th to 20th July 2024. This is according to Umar Lambu, Secretary General of Handball Federation of Nigeria. Lambu revealed that teams are expected to arrive Benin City on the July 14th for the draw. The National Division 1 League is the handball second-tier league where the champions and runners in the male and female categories respectively will gain promotion to play in the top-tier Ardova Handball Premier League. Teams expected to participate are those who were relegated from the 2023 Ardova Handball Premier League, such as Bendel Dynamo's men team, Bielsa Queens, Benway Queens, Police Machine men team, and others who are not participating in the 2024 Ardova Handball Premier League. South African club Mamelodi Sundowns have confirmed the signing of winger Kobamelo Kodisang from Portuguese First Division side Moreirense FC, having spent the last 6 years in Portugal. This marks a return to South Africa for the 24-year-old footballer. Kodisang joins the star-studded squad to provide competition on the right wing, but can play anywhere across the forward three. Kodisang made his professional debut at Platinum Stars at the age of 15 in the 2015-2016 season and spent 2 years with the team before making the move to Bidvest Wits. He later signed for lower league Portuguese side in the 2018-2019 campaign before a move to top flight side Sporting Braga, where he spent 3 seasons in their reserves playing a single Primeira Liga game. Still talking sports, Croatian Dona Vikic shrugged off a service meltdown to reach the Wimbledon semi-finals and end the fairy tale run of New Zealand qualifier Lulu Sun. 23-year-old New Zealander Lulu, who eliminated Britain's Emma Raducanu in the 4th round, was hoping to become the first qualifier to reach the women's semi-final since 1999, when American Alexander Stevenson caused a sensation. However, the world number 1-2-3 was beaten 5-7, 6-4, 6-1 by Vikic, who will face Jasmine Paolini or Emma Navarro in the last 4. World number 37, Vikic, is into her first Grand Slam semi-final. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our top stories. We told you that House of Representatives urges a federal government to suspend Samoa Agreement. We also told you that President Tinubu creates Ministry of Livestock Development to stop farmer-herders clashes. Liberian President Borkai takes 40% pay cut amid dwindling economy. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Dashen Usman.